Could China really invade and hold Taiwan? Could China really invade and conquer Taiwan? During the Korean War, the United States-led amphibious invasion at Incheon in late 1950 involved some 75,000 troops and 261 naval ships. It was actually the largest such military seaborne landing since the Second World War and was dwarfed in scale by the D-Day landings on June 6, 1944, which involved a total of 156,000 men. In addition, thousands of airborne troops landed deep behind enemy lines before the Normandy beach landings. In both of those invasions, the local populace was generally friendly to the invading force, which was actually liberating occupied territory. China's People's Liberation Army, PLA, could likely face a situation far worse than Operation Downfall if it were to actually launch an invasion of Taiwan. Crossing the nearly 80-mile Taiwanese Strait, at its narrowest point, would be just the first of many problems the PLA would need to overcome. Japan was essentially a spent force by the end of the Second World War. Its navy was nearly destroyed while the Allies maintained air supremacy. By contrast, the Taiwanese have large stocks of missiles, thousands of tanks, and a vast network of fortified positions. Much of its population of 24 million is packed into dense urban centers, including the capital city of Taipei. In addition, the interior of the island is especially rugged, a mountainous jungle that could serve as the last redoubt that would take years to subdue. Such is a fact that the Japanese military already faced, and it didn't have to mount an invasion. Rather, Japan was granted control of the island as part of the Treaty of Shimonoseki, which followed China's defeat in the First Sino-Japanese War, 1894–95, but never fully maintained control. It faced guerrilla activity for decades. Rethinking the possible on Taiwan. Beijing may have considered launching an invasion after Russia completed its conquest of Ukraine, but that conflict didn't turn out as many had expected. It could give China reason not to engage in such an attempted takeover. First, Moscow largely didn't expect the international backlash and waves of sanctions, and it is easy to see that Beijing would face a similar international outrage. But then there is the fact that Russia's casualties have greatly exceeded anyone's predictions. When people talk about whether or not China can or cannot do it, they're actually talking about something different: the level of operational cost, the loss of ships, casualties that China would have to pay to do it. Oriana Skylar Mastro, a fellow at Stanford University's Freeman Spogli Institute for International Studies, told the New York Times. Recent studies issued by the U.S. Naval War College also indicated that Beijing lacks the equipment and skills needed to undertake such an invasion. While there have been training exercises conducted using car ferries, most experts agree that such slow lumbering vessels could make for tempting targets for Taiwan's anti-ship missiles. A costly invasion. Another recent study, this one from the Atlantic Council, also reported that Taipei has a potential defensive force of 450,000 troops, and that is without any civilian militias that could likely be quickly organized. Its active force consists of just over 2 million, which wouldn't leave large reserves. It is unclear how many men would need to be maintained as a permanent force to maintain control of the Taiwanese islands. Then there is the fact that Taiwan isn't just a single island. There are more than 100 islands, including those in the Matsu and Kinmen chain just off the coast of mainland China. The main island chain of Penghu, an archipelago of some 90 islands and islets, are also heavily defended. Perhaps that is enough to convince Beijing that such a fight would only have losers.